Hi guys, good afternoon. My name is Gabriel. I'm from Birmingham in the UK. For this one, I'm without my usual co-host, Emily. I don't know if you've seen us on before. Yeah, so please, if you're out there, please let me know what your name is, where you are, and how you are doing as well today. Hello, Lavinia. Nice to have you on again. Um, yeah, so today we're going to be looking at Luca from Bologna. How are you doing? We're going to be looking at body image today, which can be quite an interesting topic in some regards. It can be quite a sensitive topic in terms of how people's personally feel that they can respond, I guess. So maybe perhaps sometimes when we're giving answers, that it's not necessarily the second person in the questions so much as the impersonal you. So what does society generally think about body image? It can be quite a tricky topic, I think, in some respects. Okay, great. So in this focus, looking at body image, some connectives later on, which I know can be very, very tricky, and students sometimes have difficulty distinguishing between the right connectives in which places, and maybe if we get onto it, some reflexives. Okay, beautiful. I'm gonna skip the first question a little bit, guys, because I don't know. It's quite a personal, weird question in some ways, and I don't want to end up talking about about that for the entirety of the lesson. What is considered beautiful or handsome in your country? And particularly two is kind of tied to four, I think. Where do we get ideas of what is beautiful and what is handsome? What do you think, Lavinia and Luca, on this one, and any other students who are out there? What is considered beautiful and handsome? And where do we get these ideas? Who dictates what is beautiful? What is handsome? I'm thinking particularly whether it's a personal thing, a cultural thing, or how much genetics or biology plays into this factor. Where do you guys think it lies? Is there one version of beauty? Okay, here we go. Lucas said, I think my wife is very beautiful. I really like her smile. That's lovely. I consider beautiful or handsome the teeth and the smile. Yeah, that's a really lovely answer there, Luca. Yeah, it's the smile is something which is very visible. So it's still got that physical attribute, but I feel there's so much personality and actual character, actual kind of emotion behind the smile. No, I totally agree. The teeth and the smile can be the most visibly attractive thing about somebody because it gives you a window into their personality. And you think your wife is very beautiful. That's good as well. Just a note as well, we would usually, in English, for this kind of expression, we'd usually keep the direct object of the verb next to the verb itself. So I think the best way, and even it's a very minor change, but I think the best way of phrasing what you've said here is I consider the teeth and smile beautiful or handsome. Just because the smoothest, most best sounding way of phrasing English sentences is if you keep the direct object next to the verb. So I consider the teeth and the smile being the direct object of consider here. Superb. And Lavinia, I agree with Luca, and I also look at the eyes. Better if they are dark and expressive. That's another one. That's another great one as well. There's so much personality in eyes, isn't there, Lavinia? If they're dark and expressive. So we've all gone for quite facial attributes here. Do you think that most societal views, most societal measures of beauty or handsomeness are facial as well? Or do you think that there's a lot of there's too much weight put on other parts of the entire body in what society considers beautiful? Because you've given me both quite fantastic personal considerations of what you think is beautiful, but what does society deem beautiful? I don't know if you know the word deem. To deem means to consider. Do you think that society, I know it's a hugely vague concept, but do you think society agrees with you, Luca and Lavinia? For any future students watching on YouTube, this is what Lavinia, I agree with Luca. I also look at the eyes. Better if they're dark and expressive. Mm-hmm. So, Luca, yeah, you've said it depends on the society. In what way? Can you elaborate? Or give me an example, perhaps? Okay, lovely. Lavinia said, I think that for women, society considers beautiful a body which is thin or toned, but at the end, anyone can have their ideal of beauty. Yeah, fantastic. Really great sentence. Again, this is a kind of similar, I think, a slight Italianism, Lavinia. It's very minor, but again, what I said to Luca about keeping the direct object next to the verb is the best way of saying it. So I think that for women, society considers a body which is thin or toned. So that's your direct object of considers. A body which is thin or toned, beautiful. So just swap round a body which is thin or toned and beautiful, and that's the most fluid. Also, another note, Lavinia, this is a preposition one. We say in the end, not at the end in English. in the end, anyone can have their ideal of beauty. Yeah, absolutely. Do you agree then with the? This is quite a famous expression in English. I don't know. Maybe you have an Italian equivalent, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder. This is quite a famous expression in English. Quite an old expression. You have the same. You have the same expression. Yeah, fantastic. Do you agree? Do you agree generally then with? Because you were talking. You mentioned that in the end, anyone can have their ideal of beauty. Do you agree with this quite subjective view? I think of beauty. And you've said, yeah, I personally don't like the model of beauty offered by the society. Yes, I agree. I agree as well. Another note: we drop the when we talk about society as this general kind of idea of what is dictated by fashion. We don't need the definitive article. We just say, I personally don't like the model of beauty offered by society. Yeah, I agree. And I think it's a really good point that you mentioned up here, the fact that beauty is heavily gendered as well. There are completely different expectations and pressures that certain parts of society put on women as opposed to men. And often, obviously, the burden falls on especially young women. I think we are attracted by the things that we see on Instagram or social network. That's another really good point, Luca. Really good point. You bring in the social media aspect, which, yes, is poison in my opinion. And here we are on YouTube. Okay. Just a note. That's great. Great sentence. We just need the past participle, because you've done a passive phrase here, which is great. We need the past participle of attract, which would be we are attracted. We're attracted by the things that we see on Instagram or social media, which kind of brings us on to question 3 and question 4. What is cool in looks and fashion? And do you think that can you maybe say something more about the social media element? Do you think that's put extra pressure on certain groups in society, certain age groups? Again, is it gendered? I say gendered here again. We usually we're talking about the impact it has on women. I think in because the ideal is seems to be much much more vicious. I don't know. What do you think about the ideas of beauty that are transmitted on social media, guys? Do you think that social media okay, hang on. Lavinia said, I think people... Good afternoon, Giuseppe. We just say the impact of, well, in general, these questions, all 4 questions here, but in particular, the things which affect self-esteem and the impact of potentially social media and social networking on ideals of beauty. Lavinia said, I think people who are more influenced by fashion are the teenagers and people of 20 to 25. They're more worried about what others think about them. Yeah, that's a really good point too. Then I think you grow up and develop a stronger self-esteem, or you should do that. I see. Yeah. So in terms of what we were talking about, are there certain groups in society who are more vulnerable? You think it's definitely young people. Yeah, I would agree. But do you think so? So you said that you think young people then grow up and develop some stronger self-esteem. Do you think that the effects of low self-esteem, in some cases, they carry through to adulthood? Do you think, in other words, you think that social media and these ideals of beauty have a long-lasting effect, maybe, that goes beyond this development that you talk about? I can't explain. I think that social addictions are more obsessed with fashion. I'm more impressed about fashion. Do you? Okay, Luke, are you saying here that you think that people who are who are addicted to social networks are more obsessed with fashion and what's cool than beauty? Yeah, that's a good point as well. What? Yeah, obsessed. Yeah, exactly. Are more obsessed with fashion. Yeah, that's a good point too. But I think sometimes what's cool and what's fashionable can become kind of linked with what's considered beautiful. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what you mean, Luca. Great. Okay, let's move on, because Lavinia's kind of pointed us towards some of the terms we'll be using in the next slide. What is body image, guys? Can you give me a definition of what body image is? Oops. So to Lavinia, Luca, Giuseppe, and anyone else that's watching, what is body image? It's one of those phrases that gets thrown around a lot. It gets used a lot, but what does it mean when we talk about body image? It's a way to... Okay, so Giuseppe, you've said it's a way to communicate without words. Okay, interesting. I wonder if you're thinking about like gestures and about body expressions. physical expressions? Because it's an interesting point you brought this up, actually, because when we use body image as this stock phrase, especially when we're talking about beauty and ideals of beauty and self-esteem, body image doesn't quite mean, it isn't so much about communication, I don't think. Can anybody else give us, although you have talked about confidence down here, Giuseppe, so I'm wondering if that's true. I do think it can massively be about confidence. Lavinia said the perception of your physical aspect. I think that's really good. Yeah. Both. I think it can be, well, question to you. Who dictates your body image? Who decides your body image? Because Lavinia, you talk about the perception here. Whose perception? And Giuseppe, you've talked about confidence here. This, I assume you mean self-confidence. So this is kind of your internal perception. And Luca, you've said the idea of your beauty. Yeah, again, but whose idea? Okay, so we have an answer from Lavinia here. A mix between yourself and society. Again, we don't need the definite article here. I think you can just say a mix between yourself and society. But yeah, absolutely, I agree. It's both, it's almost like a kind of a balance, isn't it, in some way? We decide which body image is beautiful, but we're more or less influenced by the rules dictated by society. Fantastic. Fantastic sentence. And you've dropped society as well, which is great. Yeah, absolutely. Good definition. Okay. So, little bit more. What do you think each of these mean? So these are kind of, we've all thrown around these terms. What do we mean? Maybe we can drill down into their definitions a little bit more. What does self-esteem mean? Can you give me a definition or a synonym? Self-esteem. So Lucas said self-perception. Yeah, it's kind of self-perception. Yeah, it's definitely about self-perception. I'd maybe say it's even more. Self-esteem means being able to appreciate yourself as you are. Yeah, yeah. I think it's got that sense of self-perception, Luca, but I think it's potentially even more of the drive. So it's almost like self-respect, I think, maybe even be or self-appreciation kind of is what Lavinia seems to be driving at as well. I think it's even stronger. I think it's got this element that Giuseppe was talking about with confidence too. Yeah. Self-esteem. Let's see what it gives us. Yeah, so self-respect. Yeah, I think that's often used as a direct synonym. But self-perception, yeah, as well. I think so. Influence. Fairly straightforward one. What's influence? This can obviously be a verb or a noun. Influence. Sometimes when creating definitions for these, I find it very difficult not to use the word itself in in the definition, which of course doesn't help anyone. What do you think influence means? It's a way to try and make people change or modify their ideas or their choices. Yes, I totally agree. Absolutely. Yes, it's a way of attempting to change or modify ideas or choices. Absolutely. Or try to even persuade people to change. I like the fact that you've got both ideas and physic, and maybe even more the idea of the ideas and the physical choices, the actual decisions that people make. No, you're absolutely clear there. I think it's a nice way of phrasing it. Yeah, and Luca's saying, yeah, to condition, or these are nice synonyms in a way, to manipulate even. To manipulate a really good one, a slightly maybe a slightly darker synonym in some way. But if you have a negative opinion of this kind of stuff, yeah, absolutely, it is about manipulation. Yeah, fantastic. Let's see what we've been given. Producing effects on others. I preferred your definitions, guys. I think they were a lot more elaborate. Perception. What about perception? This is a word we've thrown around a lot as well. I think everybody's used it. What's perception? Okay, perception, idea. Yeah, in the most general sense, absolutely. A perception is an idea, but I think also that with perception, there's almost something more sensual. Or hang on, we have interpretation from Lavinia here as well. Yeah, I think it could be. I think it could be. I think it's an idea, but it has a more personal edge to it in a way. Maybe a more subjective edge to it, or it could be a feeling as well. Yeah, your perception, your feeling about something. I think it's got this personal edge to it as well. So interpretation is really good as well. It's the way you personally view something in a way. I don't want to get too like deep or philosophical about this. We could spend ages arguing about these kinds of things. How you see something, yeah, but see something, I think, is views quite a visual. They've used figuratively. They've used quite a visual verb for this, but I think feeling, interpretation, consciousness. Yeah. Okay. What about enhance? Oops. Whoa. Don't look. I hope you didn't see. What about enhance? Because, of course, enhance, again, like a couple of these other ones, enhance obviously has a very, it's obviously related to this topic, and we can talk about like bodily enhancements. But enhance also has a very general sense, doesn't it? If you enhance something, what do you do? Yeah, so this would be the verb, to enhance. What do you do if you enhance something? Okay, interesting. We have an answer from Lavinia. I'm going to wait to see. Okay, yeah. So, Lavinia suggested when, for example, we put some aspects of us or our body in the spotlight. Lavinia, I think this could happen in the process of trying to enhance something. This could definitely happen in the process of that, but enhance on its own kind of carries this sense that Luca's suggesting, to raise with an A, to raise something. If you enhance something, you raise something from a lower level to a higher level. It's got a very general sense of enhancing. So you could, in a way, enhance your I don't know, enhance an ability to do something. You enhance your skills at English or something like that. It would mean to raise your level of English from a lower level to a higher level. And when we talk about to rise or increase, again, yeah, Luca, when we talk about to enhance something in this sense, when we talk about body image or changing physical attributes, we're talking about people changing their physique to make it look more beautiful or more attractive, in, you know, conforming to a societal idea of beauty. So you might say she tried to enhance her her face by eliminating wrinkles or something like that. So that would be called an enhancement in some way. The attempt to make something, to improve something. Yeah, it could carry the sense of improve as well, Luca. That's nice. Yeah, to raise to a higher degree is to enhance. So it's both a very general sense, but also you often see it with regards to talk about body image and the like. Okay. We've kind of looked over this a little bit, so I want to get to the connectives, guys, just because these can be a bit tricky. So we have a paragraph here related to body image ideals again, and we have a list of connecting phrases on the left. We have apart from, in spite of, as long as, although, and nevertheless. So fit the correct connective phrase into the blank. So I think most people have low self-esteem. The media shows us only skinny, beautiful people. I think most people will have low self-esteem. What's the correct connective phrase here? The media shows us only skinny, beautiful people. I think most people will have low self-esteem. These can be quite tricky, guys, so take your time. Okay, so number one, I think most people have it. So we have apart from and we have as long as. Okay, so the correct one for this is as long as. As long as the media shows us only skinny, beautiful people, I think most people will have low self-esteem. Okay, so what we have here is the condition, effectively, or the first case. This is a kind of subordinate here in which if this condition, so long as this condition continues, whoops, oh, you idiot. Okay. As long as this condition continues, I think most people will have low self-esteem. As long as it is the case that the media shows us only skinny, beautiful people, I think most people will have low self-esteem. Okay. So yeah, this is a phrase, this is a connective which we often use to assert a condition in relation to a statement of fact. I hope that makes sense. Number two, supermodels. No one looks like that in real life. Okay, Lavinia, you're firing on all cylinders. Fantastic. I'm just going to wait for Luca to respond and anyone else out there. So here in this phrase, exactly, apart from. So yes, both Lavinia and Luca. Apart from supermodels, no one looks like that in real life. Number 3. I'm not sure supermodels really look like that. Sorry, I can't read English. I'm not sure supermodels really look that great in real life. So we need a contradictory sense from this phrase expresses a contradiction or a doubt in relation to the last phrase. Okay, so the correct one we need is, as Lavinia's given us, although. So apart from supermodels, no one looks that like that in real life. And then we need the contradictory statement. And although introduces is a connective phrase expressing doubt or contradiction. Although I'm not sure supermodels really look that great in real life. And then we have nevertheless. Nevertheless is used entirely on its own. We don't need a subject next to nevertheless or a verb. It just exists entirely on its own in a subordinate manner to express, again, this contradictory element. Nevertheless, I think that there are many people with high self-esteem in spite of, and you've both got that right, in spite of all the images from the media. And again, in spite of, we could use despite and in spite of in as exact synonyms in this case. All right, okay. So let's try a little practice of some of these phrases. So in relation, guys, to what do people worry about the most, and in terms of self-body image? There are a list of things here: body shape, teeth, nose, skin, stomach, bottom, muscles, wrinkles. What do people worry about most? And the exercise is to try and use connectives to explain your answers. So, for instance, we have the example, no one worries about wrinkles apart from. I don't think teeth are a big worry, nevertheless. Can you write some examples using connectives? This is also another interesting question, I think, with regards to gendered nature of body worries too. I'm going to try and do one myself as well. Let's see. So I've got a example here, for instance. As long as cosmetic companies continue to use facial correcting software, people will continue to feel self-conscious about wrinkles and signs of aging. Any other examples that we can create with connectives? Okay, so Lucas said, I don't have a lot of muscle. However, I have a toned physique. Yeah, great. That's a great one with however. Do you worry about the physical, but the societal perception of muscle? It's an interesting one that you raise muscle, Luca, because I think perhaps I'm just reading Lavinia's comment now, which is exactly what I was going to say, basically. Although many men focus too much attention on their muscles, they shouldn't be worried about them. Apart from being just a physical aspect, they don't define a person. Wow, what a sentence. That's great. Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. Although that was exactly what I was going to say, but so much better because you used connectives as well. Yeah, that's a really good point as well. This is muscles, I think, potentially are probably the only one here which are more ostensibly male focused, aren't they? Yeah, and I really like at the end there how you said, apart from being just a physical aspect, they don't define a person. That's a really nice note to end on. Yeah, okay, great. So I hope that was useful. I like a good discussion about body image. I know it can be a sensitive topic, but it's an interesting one. And we had some really good examples from both Luca and Lavinia. Really good stuff. Really impressed, guys. I will be back around, let me see. I'm back later this evening, I think at 6, with Emily. So if you guys are still around doing nothing, leap on and I'll see you later today. If not, have a really nice evening. And I'm sure I'll see you again on. We've got many more of these to do. Bye, guys.